You're the son of Warren Jeffs.
Mr. Jeffs, did you rape those two girls?
Warren Jeffs was absolutely abusing children from the get-go.
Your dad was a cult leader. You're the son of that guy.
That's what they tell me.
People freak out because I have 44 siblings. But Jaden, how many moms do you have?
Yeah, 79, I think.
I like when my brain breaks. Play was considered sinful.
Oh, for sure. I didn't know play. I don't remember playing at all when I was 5. You know, there was no play.
I don't know if people get how deep this goes. The narratives and the stories lock you in.
We're preparing for the coming of Jesus. Work really hard and do what you're told, and you might be saved.
And you might be saved. We have a lot to unpack. Let's get into it. I'm just so curious. How did you get the courage to start asking questions? I'm so excited for this conversation. Jaden, hi.
Hi, nice to be here, Calvin.
Using the language of a lot of people, your dad was a cult leader.
Yeah.
And you're the son of that guy.
That's what they tell me.
We have a lot to unpack. Okay, so you're the son of Warren Jeffs.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
For anybody that doesn't know, like if they're coming into this, we're going to get into your personal story and stuff like that. But if somebody comes in to this and they're like, they have no context of what Mormonism is, let alone fundamentalist Mormonism. And then they're wondering who Warren Jeffs is. How do you describe who your dad is?
Yeah, if you have no idea, then I guess you probably know what the Catholics are. You probably know what all the main religions are in the world. Mormonism was started by Joseph Smith in the 1800s, and basically he started polygamy and all this stuff. My dad is just kind of a product of Joseph Smith. Mormonism has 15 million members, right? And of course, they don't like to be conflated with the FLDS, which is our group. But the truth is, like, our group and all fundamentalists really hold closer to what Joseph Smith really teaches. And the LDS people are really, if you ask me, they're really the ones that have kind of gone astray. But yeah, they also have stayed together. They're kind of the main product from Joseph Smith. But yeah, my dad kind of ended up at the head of one of the biggest, fundamentalist polygamous groups. And I was his kid. So.
Okay. Yeah, we're going to dive into it. Just to add the context, my church that I'm from, for anybody else that's meeting me for the first time, I'm Calvin. I have 44 siblings, and most people are like, oh my gosh, you have 44 siblings. And that sounds huge. That sounds amazing until Jaden says, hey, Jaden, how many siblings do you have? Like,
Actually,
I'm going to ask that again. People freak out because I have 44 siblings. But Jaden, how many moms do you have? How many wives did Warren have?
Yeah, 79, I think.
79. And how many kids?
55. Yeah.
I like when my brain breaks because
Okay.
I'm the one that's always telling people I have 44 siblings and it freaks people out.
Yeah.
But your dad had more wives than I have siblings. It's so
Yeah.
wild. He had almost 2 months worth of wives. That's wild. No, more than that. What am I doing? He had 70 something. Oh my gosh. 2.5 months of wives.
Yeah, I think it's one of the only polygamous families that has more wives than children. Because a lot of these polygamous families, they'll have 4 wives and just as many kids as dad did, you know?
That's right. Okay, I want to get into your personal stuff in just a sec, but I want to just validate what you're saying, but the LDS church and the FLDS, because this is something that I've noticed. And by the way, this is yours and my first time having a deep, real conversation.
Yeah, it is.
Go ahead.
I think we talked on the phone for like an hour or something, or half hour. But other than that, yeah, this is the first time we talked. So
yeah, so it's actually really cool for me to hear you make that same connection between the LDS church and the FLDS and how they're trying to sort of separate. They don't like being conflated together. That tradition has continued in even a lot of fundamentalist groups. I had what's his name? My cousin, my first cousin from growing up in polygamy,
Sam?
Sam, on the show. And what was really interesting is, which Sam's from your group, but
Yeah.
your group and my group that I'm from, the Centennial group, was once the same church uh,
Yes.
one generation ago. But my entire upbringing, we treated you like the LDS church treats fundamentalism in general, meaning we did not want to be like we grew up to think that we were completely separate and there was no connection between our church and your church. But quite literally, it's the same thing. Like our
Oh,
church broke
yeah.
off from yours in 85 or whatever it was. So I find that fascinating. And it's one of the things I want to do more conversations with fundamentalist kids and LDS kids because there's so much of
Yeah.
this history that gets muddled up and they don't realize that there's this connection that is actually way tighter than people want to admit.
Yeah. I mean, I think we thought of you guys as some serious evil apostates. But I
I
figured
mean,
you guys were
there's
doing some horrible things out there in Centennial. But
well, we one thing that we did do. Did you know that? So everybody knows Mormons for not drinking coffee, not doing
yeah.
alcohol. You guys had coffee, right?
A lot of the group had coffee. Dad discouraged it, but some people just had to have their coffee.
Did you know that we did alcohol?
Oh, really?
Yeah, we're the one fundamentalist group. I think we're like one of the only. There's probably some independent smaller groups, but we had alcohol.
That's
Okay,
crazy. You guys are
all right.
evil. Can't believe it.
At least we didn't ever ban the word fun.
I know.
That's something I learned.
Yeah.
That's something
It's
I
one
learned from
thing,
Sam.
it's one thing to ban the word and another thing to actually ban fun. So,
Yeah, yeah. Okay. So you have been in the real world, disconnected from the group for not long. Your
yeah,
dad's been in prison for how many years now?
since 2006, almost 19 years.
Almost 20 years. But you have considered yourself not part of the church for 2 years,
3 years.
three
Yeah,
years.
it's been 2 to 3 years. The
Yeah.
the problem was there wasn't like, well, there kind of was a day that I was like, okay, I'm never going back. So since that day, it's been like 2 years, a little more.
I am so fascinated by this because people ask me all the time about my leaving story because it took a long time to actually leave.
Yeah.
So we're going to get to that moment of when you actually left. But before that, let's go to the very beginning. How old? I want to hear around like what it was like for you growing up. What were your interactions? Yeah, I know it's going to be very sparse with your dad and stuff like that, but what's life like as a fundamentalist Mormon kid living in Colorado City when you're like 8, 9, 10, 12 years old?
Yeah. So I was born in Sandy. And then when I was 2 months old, we moved to Colorado City. All the FLDS moved down there to Colorado City. We lived in Dad's house until 2002. Uh, when I was 5 years old, we went to a land of refuge, what Dad bought. He called them lands of refuge, basically Zion places where we were building up the kingdom of God, essentially. Uh, Anyway, we went to the first one, which was in Colorado. We're there for a few months. Then we went to the land down in Texas, and that's where I spent the majority of my time growing up. So yeah, we didn't play games. We didn't do anything like that. When I was, 2 years old to like 8 years old, then it was laundry and garden, uh, doing yard work, helping with the canning, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, we did school down there in Texas. We built our own
Is this
school.
is this El Dorado or
Yeah, yeah, El Dorado. It's YFC Ranch. You can literally
Mm.
search YFC Ranch on Google
Were
Maps.
you born on the or sorry, not born. You were born in Sandy. Did you live on the ranch?
Yeah,
This is so fascinating. Okay, like this, I'm so fascinated by humans and the human experience and what they create. And so
yeah,
just getting to this, what you just said, I want to go a little bit deeper. So how old would you have been during this time living there, not being able to play?
yeah. So we got there when I was 5, and I was there until I was about 13, 14.
What it was, so what's going, I want to drill down on this idea of play being sort of forbidden. We had heard about this in the Centennial group. And because what started to happen around town, around Colorado City, is we noticed that all of a sudden, all of these ATVs, bicycles, basketballs, all of these things that looked like play, all of a sudden they were all out for sale or for free.
Uh-huh.
And some of Centennial got some. We're like, what the heck? Sorry, I don't need to. It's my show. I can say
Yeah,
what the fuck because we probably said what the heck though. But it was like whoa, and they were and there's this basketball court. I remember when I was growing up, there's this basketball court uh in Colorado City that's like covered, and
yeah,
what they ended up doing is covering the basketball court with like cardboard boxes, the entire basketball court, uh, like from rim to rim, so that play couldn't happen.
yeah.
Why? So I haven't thought about this in years, but I'm just so curious. What was that? What are you thinking as a 5 year old, 8 year old, 12 year old? Because you, as a kid, you have this urge to play. So
Yeah, as a
how are you taking it then to not play?
well, it real so a lot of people that are older than me, if you are 5 years older than I am, you know what play is when you're at that time way more than I do. I kind of came along at the time. I probably had some little trucks or something when I was maybe 2 years old, but I don't remember playing at all when I was 5. There was no play. I That is literally all we did. So I didn't know play. So in that sense, like it wasn't that bad. I didn't know what it was. I thought it was evil. Uh, we would hear stories from dad's wives saying, we used to play these games and all this stuff. And I would be like, oh, can we play? And they'd be like, we don't play in Zion. We just work. Father says we work. So yeah, for me, it wasn't that big of a deal because I literally didn't know what play was. So yeah, we just worked all the time.
Um,
And
I don't even know how to take this. Holy shit. You didn't even know what play. You didn't even know it. You didn't know it enough to miss it.
yeah, I certainly didn't. A lot of my older siblings did, like Rachel and all those guys that have left and stuff. They grew up just in a whole different era. I mean, dad loved playing basketball. Him and his brothers, that was one of their favorite things to do in our yard. Even still, it's still there at his house. There's a full basketball court, with two hoops, and he loved to play. And the night that he took us away from uh, Short Creek, Colorado City, uh, that was, I think, the last time he played on that court, and all the children were playing in the yard. So yeah, I was like 4 at that time, I think. Uh, but yeah, no, I was 5. Everybody was playing in the yard, and he was playing with the basketball while they were loading everybody's stuff up.
Okay. Do you know what the Centennial Group is nicknamed?
Uh, I've heard the work,
Uh-huh.
right?
Yeah.
But we call them Centennialites.
Centennialites. We called you guys the first ward
Okay.
because
Yeah.
how Mormons have their different words. Um, this so weird. I don't know why it's making me laugh. It is so fascinating that what was I'm just so I don't even know fully. I need to dig into it, but why we had this obsession with work, that work made you noble and that play was considered bad. The reason I think I find it interesting now is uh, I I've done a lot of reading, a lot of studying. I've changed a lot as a human being, especially as I've left, and I've looked how human beings evolve. And one of the things that is so important, it's critical to a human development, is
Hmm.
play. There's a lot
Hmm.
of uh, data that shows that, and it's not just a human thing, it's a mammal thing, it's an animal thing. Like play is, some say that that's how civilization quite literally became civilization. Before there were kings and rulers, there was like pretending and stuff like that in caveman times. Like play is how you learn about yourself. It's how competition comes in and how you find your rank in this social hierarchy. And so the idea that it is banned, like to the point that someone like you born into it don't even know what you're missing. It reminds me of Plato's allegory of the cave. Have you ever heard that story? Plato's allegory
I
of the cave?
I think I have, but
It's
you can remind me.
the the story goes, there are these people chained inside of a cave.
Oh.
And this is the single story that was what I call the crack. I'm the one and only sibling of my dad's kids to graduate college. And one of the classes that I took was a philosophy class.
Hmm.
And in philosophy, I learned about this story, Plato's allegory of the cave. And these people are chained inside of a cave. And my professor asks me, are these people sad that they're chained in this cave? And I said, of course. She said, why? Because they're chained. She says, but it's all they've ever known. And I won't go too deep in the rest of the story, but the long story short of it is one of the people ends up breaking loose from the chains. He leaves the cave for the first time. His entire worldview is shattered, scary, terrifying. Goes through this whole thing. I need to let other people know that are down there that there's another world out there. They think he's gone crazy when he's tried to tell them because they have no frame of reference. So, but your story around play reminds me of this story, this Plato's allegory of this cave story, because that was the first time I'd ever considered, wait, if you were in this environment, if you were chained in a cave, you wouldn't even feel like a prisoner because it's all you've ever known. You growing up at YFC Ranch, where play was forbidden, you didn't even know what you were missing because it was essentially all you knew as a child. That's just
Yeah.
fascinating to me. It's
Yeah, I
wild.
mean, all the adults knew what play was, but yeah, we
How
just
did they talk
worked.
about it?
They talked about it as the old evil days that, when we were Gentiles and you younger children are so pure and you're God's chosen. A lot of them actually talked like, I don't know if God's going to be able to use us totally in the redemption of Zion, but you guys are so pure, you're so perfect. You've only been right here on the land, haven't been exposed to any evil. Us, we've done all these bad things. You guys are perfect. You're gonna stay that way, and when you get older, you're gonna do all these cool things.
So play wasn't just, it's not that work was just better. Play was considered sinful.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, no balls, no nothing, right?
It is so fascinating to get the context of this because again, I just remember when everything went on sale or for free, where some people in Centennial literally got
Uh,
like really cool bikes and everything for free because everybody just laid them out because play was banned. Okay, so fast forward a little bit. How old were you when you're living there? It's just your normal,
oh,
right?
100%. Yeah, I remember when I was 5 years old. We were down there in Texas, and I was like, "Is the world bigger than this place, or is Short Creek a different world?" I was trying to like comprehend the world, you know. But yeah, as I got older, then I understood more and more. Like we're just here on this land. we're the chosen of God. We're preparing for the coming of Jesus, and yeah, work really hard and do what you're told, and you might be
Hmm.
saved.
And you might be saved.
Yeah,
How old
if
are
you're
you when,
lucky.
if you're lucky? It's so wild to see the connections. My grandmother, when she passed, that was one of the things that really stuck out to me. Uh, my direct grandmother, I have 13 grandmothers, which is like nothing compared to what you probably have. But I just remember when she died, she was like, I hope I was good enough. I hope I was good enough. I hope I was good enough. And so it's just wild to see that has that passed through, even when we split off from you, that we hope God can use us. How old were you when your dad got caught?
I was 8 years old because I had got baptized by him just like a month earlier. So I remember it really well. You know, we were just down there in Texas working away. He was gone like he always was. Every once in a while, he would come back in this weird car with a few of the mothers that were dressed like Gentiles, but we rarely saw him. But once in a while, we got a glimpse at him, you know? So he would come
Wait a
back.
minute. Wait a minute. Some of your moms, I mean, everybody knows FLDS, hair, prayer dresses. They weren't dressed like that.
So when they would go with dad, he was in hiding. Yeah, dad would wear like shorts and a t-shirt, and they would wear like jeans and a t-shirt with their hair hanging,
So they
you
can
know,
blend in with the world.
right.
That's
Yeah.
how that makes sense because I know he was dressed like that when he got captured.
Yeah. Uh, so yeah, they were just like in hiding or whatever. So yeah, we got a phone call to come over to the house, and they said he had been caught, and from then on we were praying our asses off.
What I'm just so curious about that day. Does the day of your I'm curious about the energy of it. Like, I don't know any other way to say this, but is that day for you as an 8-year-old, is that your 9/11? Like, do you remember that day? Is it a big deal or is it just a
Yeah, it was a big deal. Um, Everybody was really somber. The thing that was crazy though is we didn't expect, nobody expected it to last that long until today, you know. It was a super somber day, but it was also like we thought it was going to be over in a year, 2 years, hell, 5 years, 10 years, something. It's been 19 years.
mm, yeah, there's no way that the prophet is gonna stay in prison for life.
Oh no. Oh no. Yeah, we 100% believed he was coming out, and so yeah, that's been the bigger shock I think to all the FLDS over time. And it's been
Hmm.
every year you find out a little bit more about
Hmm.
how long 20 years is. You know what I'm
Yep.
saying? And that's a big part of one of the things that made me leave, right?
The
I was
time.
over it. Yeah. We had been praying since that day for dad to be delivered. And then as I get older and start learning more and more, I'm kind of to the point where I'm like, you know what? If I can't take this into my own hands and figure out how to get dad out of prison, I'm not going to pray for it anymore. Like I'm
Mm,
over it. So,
yeah, and some
because
people.
because that's
Go
what
ahead.
all the FLDS people are doing right now. Every one of them.
Yep.
We pray for the prophet's deliverance. They've been saying it in their morning prayers and their night prayers. They've been saying it in their group prayers, acting like it's going to happen for 20 years. And I was like, I'm going to do something about it. Hell, I'll help dig a tunnel under the damn prison if you want me to. But I'm over this.
Hmm?
You know, I was fed up.
Where does that fed up come from? Just the repetition or
I think over time, I just got like a super realistic view of life. And
mm,
if you want to make something happen, God damn it, like go put it in steps and like do it. That's kind of what the FLDS do anyway. You want to build something, you go and hammer down. You like knock that stuff out. You want to do something, you get it done. That's how we were. And for years, I was so done with the bullshit of like, you're not worthy, you need to prepare more, and doing everything I possibly could. And then being told the same thing. I'm like, God damn, there has, that, yeah, it just led me to a lot of frustration and like,
I
give
want
me
to
some
talk
concrete examples
steps.
of how I can improve. And don't say you need to pray harder or some bullshit like that. You know what I'm saying? It's like I was
Totally.
so dang over that shit. And I even told my brother this before I was leaving. I was like, you make a plan to get dad out of prison, whether it's through attorneys, raising money, get him in court, whatever,
Or
or
digging a
we're
tunnel.
digging a tunnel. I'll help you. But I will not say another fucking prayer for my dad to get out of prison unless we do something. Because it
Yep.
ain't gonna happen.
By the way, you guys sure do know how to build stuff. Like with the steps. The FLDS, and again, it's funny because I say the FLDS, but we're a fundamentalist Mormon church too. And so, I mean, we come from it, but I remember watching you guys in Colorado City. Like I'd leave for a week and come back, and there'd be an entire fucking house done, like
Yeah.
from nothing in some cases, like little ants. You guys would just get together, like, of course, 40-year-olds, 30-year-olds, 50-year-olds, 12-year-olds, 14-year-olds, like everybody just get it done. It's actually kind of inspiring that way.
Yeah, and it's actually pretty in some sense, there's some enjoyment to that, a big group of people coming together and just knocking out a house. It's like, wow. But yeah, they did like the house in
Sorry.
the day there in the creek.
Did you guys call them work crews?
Yeah, work crews.
Literally, this is something that is so special. Like, this is the thing too. There are real beautiful human things that is the glue that is not talked about very much that holds this together. Yeah, your dad gets all the press and everything, but one of the reasons that I think Mormonism exists is because of that communal factor. We had them too, and you're so spot on. We love those. I love those days growing up where we all got together to help an uncle get his house built or fully, or like at least pushed down, and like get 3 years worth of work done in a weekend, just because everybody's helping and pushing. But I want to just go back to wrap up this whole thing of the continuing to pray and getting sick of it. And I want to hear about the worthiness conversation that you were having with yourself, because to me there's an evolution that you had to have to even, dude, to even question that. Why are we wasting our time and not think that it's your fault? I was just in Colorado City about a month ago, and I actually talked to somebody that still believes. And it was really fascinating because she said everything that you just told me. Like, they've been praying for a long time. Even talking to an apostate shows evolution to me too, because that would never happen growing up,
Right.
even though we're literally the same family. But what's sad to me is she's 31, so she would have been almost 20 years. So 12,
She would have been 10. Yeah,
10,
12,
12. Yeah.
11. Yeah.
Yeah. But in that age, so for her entire life, I mean, I'll give you the question that my sister, who was with me when I was talking to her, had. Is like, how could you believe this? How could you like, she didn't say this to her. She said it to me after, like, how could you believe that this guy is a good guy and that he's just going to be getting out of jail any day now if we're good enough, if we're good enough, if we're good enough. But you're basically answering that question for me. If you are a 10 or 11 or 5-year-old or 12-year-old, and every day, every prayer is bless the prophet, he's going to get out. No wonder. But the thing that she said, and I'm just so curious about it with you, is this whole conversation around worthiness. because it actually wasn't put on him at all about he did a bad thing. That's why he's in jail, right? It's the world's doing this, but what can get him out of jail if we as the people are worthy? Is that sort of the how it was framed?
Oh, for sure. I remember Dad saying, "Okay, this has been a thing my whole life. Okay, since I was 8, anyway. Dad went to prison. At his court trials, you have 3-day fasts. So you fast 2 days before and then on the day of the trial, right?
You did that as a community. You fasted
Right,
for
as a
your dad.
community, right?
Fascinating.
So, and this was really common. Like Dad would be going to have like a little minor court or something, and we would do it, or a big trial, and we would fast, you know. So since I was just really young, we've been having these 3-day fasts, praying for Dad to get out of prison. Um, and as I got older, we did this thing where 3 men would always be in a room for 2 hours at a time. But it was 24/7. But basically, 3 men would be in the room and they would say a prayer out loud every 15 minutes with their arms to the square. And then they would sit down and pray. And when their 2 hours got done, then they would leave, or 3 more men would come and take over for them. And basically, they were praying for Dad's deliverance. But yeah, Dad, he said if there was 3 men like truly ready, then nothing could keep him in prison. So, and I think we really believed that like if you were truly pure, God would just like lift him out of prison. So,
Did you ever know about this idea before your dad went to prison about ascending? Did did you ever see that? Like it would have been maybe even before you were born, but where some people would dress all white expecting to be ascended.
hmm, lift it up or something.
Yeah.
Uh, no, I didn't really hear that. I mean, we were always told that like we needed to be worthy to be lifted up at a moment's notice. Um,
Yeah. I remember being told like that was a story that we had heard because of like the Kolob story or whatever, that some people, I can't remember what that word is, that would be, my dad would tell the story that you wouldn't have to die, essentially, that you would just basically skip a lot of things if you were so good. I think he
oh,
called it translated or whatever. You'd be
oh yeah, yeah.
translated and you'd be ascended. And I remember before you would have been born, there was a couple of times where people in the community sort of expected it to happen, and they dressed in white, waited to be ascended. And the story that you're saying about your dad saying there were 3 people, if they believed he would be out, it was sort of that same thing that he was saying, if we all believe we would be ascended. And
Yeah,
if somebody didn't ascend, if the group didn't ascend, it's because somebody in the group had doubt.
sure. Yeah, yeah. No, that's
Yeah.
yeah, it's like if there was perfect faith, this would happen. And I don't know. For me, I guess I didn't think that we were just all going to be lifted up, only if we were like in serious danger or the judgments of
Yeah.
God were coming.
Which, Jaden, you impressed me so much though, because like, how the fuck did you go from, like, I don't know if people get how deep this goes. Like like the narratives and the stories lock you in. Like you have family members that you can't even talk to that are so deep in this. And so I'm just like, how did you? I remember when I started questioning, I didn't even feel safe in my own head
Oh yeah.
because I'm risking my soul. So was it really just being annoyed that the prayers aren't working? Like, how did you
Oh no,
even?
that was just kind of the end, I think.
Sure. Like, I'm just so curious. How did you get the courage to start asking questions or
Yeah.
sinning? Because it probably felt like sinning at the I mean, I don't know, at least that's how it would have been for me. Like, how did you go from praying, being a good boy, doing it every day to actually just start asking questions? Was it somebody in
You
your
know,
family leaving?
well, a lot of people had left, or a few people over time, but it really started.
Can you move the mic just a little bit closer? Just to,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Can you hear
great.
me?
Yeah.
Okay. It really started when I was like 19 and well, on my, okay, there's a whole deal here. When I was, uh, when I was 13 years old, dad started sending, like my mother was put in a house of hiding by herself for an extended period of time, like a year or two at a time. But she was there for basically 10 years, or 8 years, moving from different house to house, but in isolation. But something like that will kind of make you go insane almost. But she was trying to be worthy. We were all trying to be worthy. So this is where it started. When I was 14, I got sent to one of these houses of hiding, and for the life of me, I couldn't prepare to go back to Zion or anything. I was like perfect. I was doing every single thing that you could possibly do and then some. Uh, and I could never be worthy. But then dad sent us to Short Creek, which was for me the worst place I could have gone. And
Why?
because the people on the lands of refuge, and especially me, who has never even hardly been back to Short Creek, we consider that place like cursed, uh, evil, evil people there, apostates, centennialites, FLDS members that aren't worthy, you know?
Oh, right, because they weren't worthy enough to go to the ranch.
Right. So, but for dad's family, instead of sending them back to the Short Creek, he usually just sent them to houses of hiding if they weren't worthy. And then when they were worthy, they would come back to the ranch or one of the lands of refuge. So yeah,
How's he deciding who's worthy and how you're worthy and when you're repented or whatever, and what's making people get casted out from not being worthy?
well, be, besides some arbitrary
Sorry for the
decision.
tangents. Yeah.
Oh no. Besides the arbitrary decisions in his own mind or like totally messing with people, if you wrote him a letter and said, I had this immoral desire, then maybe you would end up in a house of hiding or something. But other than that, I think it was just his inspiration, whatever the fuck you want to call that. you know?
Okay, so you get sent to you basically go backward because you had I mean it's the FLDS of course was headquartered in Short Creek, which is Colorado City, Arizona, Hilldale, Utah, and then of course goes to the ranch in Texas, El Dorado, Texas. And you go from House of Hiding to now you're in Short Creek, which feels like a demotion.
Oh, it's a major demotion. And like the harder I tried, the worse it got. So, you know, I try really hard, then I get sent to the crick. Well, then I get sent out to work, like when I turn 18. And from then on, yeah, it was a series of like serious pain kind of, but also like it's those are just dark days,
What do you mean?
because well, for one, like you're trying so hard and then you get sent away like that. Okay. People, if they could understand the context, they would almost have to like hear all the things we were hearing and be in the situation that we were in at that time. It was like if you don't become a part of the United Order, then in like a few years, you're definitely going to be dead, you know, type of a thing. And so I just took it super, super seriously. But anyway, I was sent out to work. That was like probably one of the worst days of my life when I was sent to work because for one, I had never really even been in the Colorado City community. Even when I was there, Dad wouldn't even let me go outside of the block right there, you know. So I had
Uh-huh.
never even been with FLDS members that weren't down in Texas or at one of the lands of refuge. So yeah, I went out to work. It was like the worst thing because I was so uncomfortable. I didn't really know how to do anything as far as the real
Hmm.
world goes. But, I was catching on pretty fast. But anyway, my dad calls us back to these meetings. Everybody goes,
All from prison, by the way, because people might be wondering, like, what do you mean your dad? So your dad's completely till this day in late 2025 is running the show from prison. But so
yeah,
he calls these things from prison.
yeah. So we go back to Colorado City and well, we go there for the meetings only. Then we leave for the week. But basically, Dad says crazy things in these meetings. He says there's only like 10 million people left in the United States and people are being lifted away and all this crazy stuff. And I am totally buying into this stuff. I am just so glad to be able to be at these meetings. But we go to Denver and I start noticing every car off the side of the road. I'm like, those guys got lifted away. They were too evil. And
So
that's
the
all I
cars
could
that are
think.
parked, the cars that are
Yeah.
parked, they're just unmanned because they got lifted away.
Yeah, yep. I mean, everything I was making, everything makes sense, but we get in rush hour over there, and I'm like, if there's only 10 million people, then 3 million are still in Denver, you know? And okay, I was kind of like,
Oh my god.
but I made it make sense, right?
Right.
And anyway, we go to those meetings for like three 3 or 4 weeks. And then I go up to Idaho. I'm working with my uncle. Dad tells me to work with him. And
Oh, really? So your dad's direct, like talking to you directly.
no, no, but he's not calling me.
Right.
But yes, he's telling me, oh, for sure. He's telling me exactly what to do.
He's saying Jaden should go. Well, he's not saying Jaden because your name wasn't Jaden, um, but he's basically saying my son. You went by Nephi. Was that what your board?
Yeah.
Yeah. Nephi needs to go to Idaho.
Uh-huh. Well,
Okay.
no. He said I should work with my uncle and do whatever he does. So I'm
Okay.
with my uncle. My mother lives in a house with us and all my full sisters. So me and my uncle head up to Idaho. And this is just how the FLDS works. Uh, you get a phone call from dad to do something, you do it right now. So we
If
get the
it's priested,
call.
it's yes. Be led as though by a hair.
Yes. If you get the call, we get the call. Joe is, yeah. Yeah. So I was with my Uncle Joe. Uh, he's told to leave me in Idaho, go pick up my mother, take her far away. Or my mother's just told to leave and go far away. Joe's just told to help him take their stuff wherever. My two younger sisters are told to move up to Idaho with an uncle, but I'm not supposed to have anything to do with them. I'm not supposed to talk to them anymore at all. So they move up there. My mother's gone. I'm just up there in Idaho waiting for Joe to get back. And then we keep going to these meetings. But one day we can't go to the meetings anymore because they're like shut down or whatever. Sorry, I just need to
Okay.
mute my phone.
So you can't go to the meetings anymore.
Yeah, so well, they get shut down. And most people there's probably like 500 people going at this point. But anyway, I keep working with my Uncle Joe, and then we go back to the meetings.
Okay.
They get started up again. But this time they're like super crazy.
Okay.
I
Like
I'm
what?
with I'm with my I'm going with Joe and my grandfather every Sunday. So
So
grandfather
you're
Pearl,
traveling from Idaho back to Short Creek.
yeah, me and Joe are, and we pick up grandfather in Cedar City.
Mm-hmm.
and he was kind of a pillar in the community, my
Your
grandfather.
grandfather was?
Yeah.
Who's who?
But he was kind of demoted, so I didn't really, Dad had said some bad things about him, so I didn't really like
Mm-hmm.
appreciate him to the degree I should have.
Okay.
But we go to these meetings and we these meetings are insane.
Yeah, give me some examples. What do you mean by insane?
Well, it's like before Dad was saying 10 million people were left in the US and Putin was nuking everybody and we were too and whatnot. But in these meetings, it was more like a mob attacks his family and he names them and he says, uh, this wife went up and the mob was coming, but they just lost it and cut up their daughter and uh basically then the mob got to them and cut them up, but God restored them and put them back in the situation to see if they would do it again. But they had lost the spirit of God and were just mentally insane. And they took drugs. Anyway, these are the kind of meetings they were. And they
Okay.
scared, yeah, and
What did they do?
they scared the shit out of me.
Mm,
Yeah, so, because they were in the context. Sorry, can you hear me?
yeah,
Okay. They were in
they
the con
scared you.
Yeah, they were in the context of like, don't lose the spirit of God, or this is going to happen to you, kind of. And so I was, and every time they were like, these people took some sort of drugs, like some sort of cocaine or heroin or something like that, and then did these things. But yeah, I was super scared. Anyway, I listened to those meetings for like, oh, so my grandfather and Joe were told to not come one day.
Oh,
And so I go and then I hear these same things about them, and that's how it is. Like, so yeah,
meaning
like,
that you say these things like that they're not good or they're not worthy.
yeah, but it's detailed. It's like they took these drugs and did this, committed adultery with this person.
Oh,
And
hold on, hold on. Is this your dad speaking?
yeah,
Wait a minute. So you go to these meetings, and not only is he spouting off the things that are like there are only 10 million people, and like you go to Denver rush hour, you're like, wow, well, there's 3 million here because there's a lot of people. But you go to these meetings, and your dad is basically in front of the community. He's saying, first of all, he gave the rule to for them to not show up. And then while they're not there, your dad is then throwing them under the bus in detailed manner.
oh yeah, that's happened to everybody.
How are
Yeah,
you
like
thinking about this as a, how old are you? Like 18?
at this point, I think I'm 20.
Okay. How are you thinking about this at like a 20-year-old when you're saying like, wait, I work with these guys. I drive with these guys. I mean, if they did cocaine and they had committed adultery, they were pretty good at hiding it. Like, how did you process that?
The thing is, I'd been going to these meetings for long enough that I, yeah, I had made everything kind of make sense. And I was in such a struggle to be worthy to not have this stuff happen to me that, yeah, I was so just the fact that I wasn't included with them in not being able to come,
Relief.
oh, relief. Yeah. And I was terrified of them after too.
Mm.
Like I wouldn't even talk to them anymore.
I'm getting chills.
But yeah, I think people don't quite it's so hard to explain, man,
Get you, man.
because because you sit there and listen to, I mean, I knew everybody like that Dad was saying it about because it wasn't like oh, this person did this. No, it was like, name their name. Here's how they did it. Here's what they did, kind of a thing. So it's like if I told you your friend did like the most heinous things.
Yep.
And the other thing people don't get is just like my level of belief that it was true.
100%.
Yeah.
Hook, line, and sinker.
Yeah.
Yeah, because what could it possibly mean if you doubted it being true? What could that mean for you?
Yeah. And I would be probably the next one. And I remember these meetings had gone on for like 2 months, and my mom hadn't been named. She wasn't coming to them. She was off in Oklahoma or something. But
In a house of hiding in Oklahoma.
no, she was just figuring it out.
Okay. Okay.
She had just been sent away.
Okay.
Uh, so she hadn't been named in these meetings, and I was like going to be devastated if she was. And I just
Of course.
knew it was coming. And I mean, I just figured based on everybody else that had been, I and so
You figured your mom is going to be like, it's just a matter of time. Your mom is next.
like she's gonna be named, and she's gonna be named as doing these like heinous things.
And you're like, how am I going to process that?
Oh yeah, I remember like praying so dang hard for her and stuff. And then yeah, I was like the week before she had got named, I remember I was working up in Ogden and I was thinking about it, and I was out on the job site and I just couldn't help myself. I just broke down crying and just had to kind of go over where nobody was for a while because I just knew like I could just tell she was gonna like be named. Anyway, I was
Will you talk more about that? Like, what was the what was the fear?
well, all those people, that's what I'm saying about the belief is like I 100% believed all those people dad was naming were damned.
So if your mom was
And
named,
yeah, I mean she had been sent away and everything, but I hadn't heard her named like that.
but the reason you broke down is if she was named.
Yeah, I just it would have been super hard. It was I knew it was going to be super hard for me to like accept.
It would have meant that she was damned.
Yeah, forever. It's more than I would have rather at that point. I would have much rather heard she was dead, or had somehow passed away and just
Mhm.
with some
So
luck, with some
it's
salvation. Passed away
so
with
that
some
so that's
salvation.
so
Then here.
the breakdown crying is that if she gets named, you love your mom, and
Yeah.
so you are afraid for her soul.
Yeah, for her soul and everything, you know. Yeah, I would have I think at that point you give me the option of just hearing that she's exalted and dead. I would have taken it. You bet. Uh
I
so
wish I wish more people understood how deep this goes. Like I know exactly what the fuck you're talking about. It's
yeah, I
we
can't
had
I
that
can't explain it.
no, I mean we had similar things. In fact, it was preached. I wouldn't be surprised if it was preached in your families too and in Sunday school where parents would actually say that to their kids,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, I
That
would
we
rather
would rather you die.
yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, we'd rather you die than leave the work. Oh yeah, yeah, that was well
Did you
understood.
guys call it the work too sometimes?
Yeah. I
That's
mean,
what I thought.
not as a name, especially, but yeah, I guess to some degree, like, yeah, we did. Um,
Yeah, so go back to this day and then where do you take it from there? So you're like, it feels inevitable. that your mom is going to be named, and therefore it feels overwhelming of how you're going to process it and how you're going to accept it.
Yes, and that's another thing is it's hard to explain this too, but
Let's try.
just the fact that I had like that serious pressure. And then I went to the next meeting and it happened was also like,
She was named.
yeah, it was also like,
I have to know what that day was like, what that moment was like for you sitting in that meeting.
yeah. So just the fact that it happened after I had kind of gone through that, it basically confirmed my feelings and like kind of inspiration. You know, you're seeking to be inspired and full of the Spirit of God. And anyway, it kind of just confirmed it.
Because you thought it
It's
and
like
then it
I knew,
happened.
well, I knew it was going to happen. And that's how,
Did that did that become so did that help
yeah, I
strangely?
would say it helped. Yeah.
It helped the pain that your mom is now going to hell.
Well, it helped me accept that I was still good
Good
and
enough.
in it. Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
Like I was still being inspired and led by,
Mm,
and that's one weird thing is like they're kind of in those deep, dark situations. You kind of do know what's going to happen for some
mm,
reason.
yep.
Anyway, yeah, so
So
then,
fascinating.
yeah, my mom gets named in that next meeting. I remember that really good. And it's not super graphic, but it's enough to like make me cry a lot over the next week. And just, but
Because
then,
not only is she saying, because again, like everybody else, like your uncles, he's not just saying that she's damned, he's saying all the things that she did.
yes, but also I was super careful to not judge my dad for it because there's this big thing he has where you can't have sympathy against authority when your loved ones get corrected, you know? So if your mother gets corrected, make sure you don't have sympathy against authority, like sympathy,
I know exactly what you mean. The same thing is in the work. It's, I talked about this before, like in other shows where I watched my dad abuse my mom when I was like 4 or 5, where he like hit her. Um, and that was one of the things that I had learned and I was taught, like, you do not criticize or have sympathy for authority. And so I had to learn, like, the way I made that make sense is I wonder what she did to deserve that, to be corrected like that.
yeah,
And the leader of the work now, that, like, similar, like my entire upbringing, I still want to come back to this, but just to validate it because it happens in the work. And then people don't realize that the work is a cult, like, just as, like, it's just not as crazy, but it's on the same track. And
sure.
one of the things that the prophet leader John Timpson says, and many of them say, is like, for you to even sit in the presence of an anti-priesthood speaker, meaning you have any correctiveness, if you're even in the presence of somebody that would dare have a corrective word for them, you're risking your soul. Not even you don't say it. If you're in the presence of somebody that would dare have sympathy or a
Yeah,
corrective against the leader, then you're risking your soul
yeah, for sure. A lot of men got sent away just for that,
for
just
having a word against. Maybe he shouldn't have, maybe he was a little too harsh, maybe he shouldn't have
yeah,
done.
just wondering, like that was my wife you sent away, what's wrong? Just wondering something like that,
Just
you know.
having a question about it.
No, yeah, have confidence in the prophet, you weirdo. So
Be
yeah.
led, be led as though by a hair,
Yeah, so I was super careful to not like have bad feelings towards my dad over it.
for your own salvation's sake,
Yeah.
your soul.
Yeah, so I was basically praying and just like supporting God and dad and trying to letting my mother go. Anyway, so that
What's the relationship? How did the relationship shift with you and your mom after that day?
well, I mean, I hadn't talked to her for 9 months or 7 months or something. So it's not like we were talking or anything.
But when you talked about your uncle, where after they were corrected or like instantly they were now bad people, how did you
Oh,
think about your mom?
uh, I just let her go. You know, uh, let her go and yeah, figured if there was hope for her, then it would come.
Hmm.
And anyway, like another month goes by at those meetings. They're super insane. And then I get told I get sent away.
Oh, wait a minute.
I knew that was coming too, so
Oh, hold up. Hold up. So you're saying, wait. So I have to hear about this. So is it similar where it's specific about things that you did and why you deserve to go away? Like, did you get to hear those things?
no. So
This is so
so
fascinating.
actually I actually felt really good about this because I don't I wonder what would happen. I took these things too seriously. Um
Okay.
yeah, so I get sent to my youngest sister, full sister, is she's still like considered really special. Um but basically, I mean she's considered really faithful. But I'm supposed to go pick her up, go pick my mom up and head up to North Dakota and live up there. So my mom and all her children, I was being sent away, but I was supposed to live with my mom and all her children. So
Mm.
I don't know. Like it was some and we were like dad had told my youngest sister to send him a map of North Dakota and then he's just like moved to Fargo. So yeah, we felt
How
good about it.
there's so many things about this that I'm like, how did you like, was there a house there already? Like, how are you gonna figure that out?
No, so this is the one time we got money from dad uh when we were sent away because before like my mom and four of us were sent away to figure it out and we literally had no money. But this time dad gave us like 12 grand
To get
and
like an apartment?
yeah, so we
And
went up.
he's basically directing somebody because obviously he's not directing it. He doesn't have access to his bank accounts from prison. So he's like
Right,
having somebody that has access, like give them 12,000.
right. Yeah, so he gave mother 12 grand and we went up, rented a house and all got jobs
By the
up
way, I
there.
just want to be sensitive to like we've gotten into some details here. Are you cool with like some of the
Oh yeah.
details? Okay. Because I'm curious, like, how was that like for you when you got sent away? Was it just what did you feel like that you were now damned? Did you feel like that you were on thin ice? Like, what was your feeling?
I did. I certainly did the times before. This time was a little different. Um, for one, I had been listening to these meetings and my mind was under insane pressure. But
If you're good enough, if you're worthy.
yeah, but then also this time it wasn't, it was almost like go do this. It wasn't as much you're unworthy, so you're going to do this. It kind of was, but in some sense it wasn't. It certainly was not the worst time I had been sent away. When I got sent away from the crick, that to go work. It was just a few days before my 18th birthday. It was me, my mother, and three of her children, or two of her children. And yeah, I almost died that time. But just
Emotionally.
yeah, yeah, that was that was the most terrible being sent away time. But this time, it wasn't that bad. I pretty much went up and uh, just had some time to process all that information I'd been hearing and be back with my mother for a while. And yeah, uh,
Okay. Where does the doubt start to come in?
right here.
Okay. What was the thing? What was the moment that you're like where the crack is like, wait a minute.
Um, well, I would never let doubt come into my mind
No way.
even at
Yeah.
this point.
Because doubt would mean I'm going to like I'm could be potentially unworthy. I could be sent away. I could go to hell. Like I could be damned like all these other people that you've seen damned that you no longer talk to, that the prophet has outcasted. Like you couldn't allow that.
Yeah, after hearing these meetings, I was like, okay, they're either a test or they're not true or something.
See, you
And
actually had that consideration that it might not be true.
well, I had seen by this point, I had seen a bunch of the people that Dad said were dead. I
Yep. Okay.
had,
Dude,
so
I'm
I
this
mean, what do
you're
you
gonna
do? I
yeah,
thought you were,
like
you know,
yeah, I thought you were dead. Like I have this saying that I use, and I'm going to use it, say at the end of this episode. The only way I know how to save yourself from a cult. And I actually wrote it down here. It's just 3 words, and I'm going to save it at the end because, like, you're basically doing it right now with what, like, noticing people that are dead and stuff like that. But I'm just, I just wish people realized that how deep this is, where you can't even like even asking a question is dangerous to yourself.
Yeah.
Like even if you don't share the question with anybody else. Like I try to explain to some people, and we'll probably do this on your show, why the journey out was so lonely. And it was because I didn't feel safe to share my questions because what happens if I got, outed? Um, so like, oh, I remember what one thing I was going to mention is this whole idea of test, because I knew implicitly, even though we haven't mentioned it up to this point, that had happened most of your life. Every bad thing was a test, right? Your dad being in jail, test. Your sometimes when people got sent away, maybe that's a test, but also like uh all the hardship, everything that's happening, test, test, test. Are you faithful? Are you worthy? It was a test, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's
Uh
all a test.
it's all a test. Uh How the fuck do I know that when I didn't grow up there? Because the same thing was in mine. And
Hmm.
again, I'm pointing this out because there's so many people in my community still that do not see the connection between the work and the FLDS and that it's the same. We had the same thing. Like anything, and by the way, you said at the very beginning of the episode, you can trace this all the way back to Mr. Joseph Smith himself. He did the exact same thing.
Yeah.
Test. It was a test. The bank failed because it was a test. Uh, they got kicked out not because of anything bad that he did. It was a test.
He told
Every
Hebershey Kimball to give him his wife for a test.
as a test. Everything was a test. And it's so fascinating with your dad because really what you see with Warren Jeffs is a 200-year journey of a pattern of humans and how far it goes when you continually break down your own sensibility, put it on somebody else, and see what happens when you believe that. And people all the time are gonna they put too much credit on your dad in a sense
Oh yeah.
because they think he created this. No,
Right.
your dad. If it wasn't your dad that took advantage of this, it probably would have been somebody else. The conditions, and your dad's an extra special horrible human, but I just mean like there's I don't know if that's the one thing I wish just people understood is like, no, this is inevitable. Like with this sort of pattern, like it's inevitably going to go horrible in the work. if unless things shift, unless people realize that they can trust their own sensibility. So I just wanted to highlight that concept of test because you mentioned it here late in the episode, but it's such a big part of Mormonism from its founding all the way to the fundamentalist churches that still exist to this day. So going back to these questions where you're like, this is either true or it's not true. Because you're
Yes.
noticing dad said so and so is dead. I just saw so and so. Before you actually question that, there must have been a moment where you're thinking like maybe you're not saying it the right way because he's obviously right, like he's infallible, like you can't, like, did you have some of those first before you questioned that maybe it's symbolic, like?
Okay. That's the thing is that's why it's hard to explain is because I was living in the world that my dad had told me. So he said 10 million people were left in the United States. Everybody else had been lifted away. That's the world I was living in. He said these people were dead and these mobs were attacking people and stuff. That's the world I was living in. I
That was
wasn't,
reality.
yeah, that was reality. So anything outside of it wasn't true, you know? And yeah, I had a lot to learn.
So what happens then when you see a direct contradiction? Like at first, we'll talk
A
about how it
test.
crumbles. Okay, so so it's a test that it
Or,
was a test that he said they're dead. You were at least got to the point where you accepted the fact that they're not dead, even though he said they're dead. So it was a
yes,
test to
or,
see if you could believe him.
well, he often talked about God restoring people from these horrible situations to life, to try again.
So maybe they died when he said they died, but maybe because you
Yeah.
saw them, maybe they'd come back.
Yeah, maybe he's giving them another chance. Sure. Yeah, I 100% believe that.
Humans are so fascinating. This whole thing. Okay, so when do you start to acknowledge the direct contradiction from what he's saying to what you're saying?
I remember about 3 months after I had been sent, or no, we settle into a house up there in Fargo, and everybody is happy to be there, but we're all like super faithful and trying to be good. Well, my dad tells me to not get a construction job, to not get any kind of job, but only get a shop job where I just work in a shop. Anyway, I take like 3 months to find this job, but I get a job at a cabinet shop and I just can hardly pay my bills. Um, Mother and my sisters have a job, and so they're pretty much making the whole house payment because I have a truck payment and stuff. And yeah, I can just hardly pay my bills. So then I decided that I was going to try to start my own business. I decided, even though my dad hadn't told me to not do construction, he had told me not to because he didn't want me traveling a lot. So I figured if I could just do my own thing and then it would probably be okay. And I hadn't heard from him for like 6 months after we moved up there to North Dakota. So we were just chilling. And anyway, we went over to meet my brother one day, who was kind of dad's main point of contact. And I was asking him, hey, what about these meetings? What about these messages? Did dad say something like that about me after I left? Like, what's going on? And I was just kind of asking him, like, how do you think about these? And he said, uh, we just we gotta have faith that your dad, or yeah, we gotta have
The
faith that
prophet.
fathers like can test us, and maybe some things are true, and you know, don't worry about if he said anything about you, just do your best, and that's pretty
But you
much
got
what
to be deeply curious. What the fuck did he say about me?
well, I knew what he said about everybody else. I didn't really need to know, to be honest. So
You kind of assumed that he said those same things about you.
Yeah, I did. But also, we had got a message when we left, pretty much telling us what to do. So I wasn't sure.
I'm still
Anyway,
curious where this crack happens.
okay. So I'm starting my own thing, and I find out you can't do anything on without the internet. Uh,
Okay. You're
I
starting your
have
own
a,
thing. You're going to start your own business.
yeah, I
Okay.
have my phone, but it doesn't have the app store or any internet browsing apps. I essentially don't know what the internet is. But every time I try figuring something out,
This is so
then
bananas to me.
every time I try figuring something out, they say go online and like you can register your business here, or even to get the papers to register my business, they said you can download them and then mail them in if you want to, or you can just do it on the on the internet. Anyway, I am terrified of the internet because I think it's going to damn me if I even use it. You know, it's a big no-no from my
Dude,
dad. A
dude.
huge no-no.
Oh, we have to pause on here right here again because I know because that's used in so many things. It's you couldn't talk to the Centennialites because you're afraid of damning yourself. You can't talk to somebody that's been corrected because you're afraid of damning yourself. Literally, the internet could damn you. Did you guys have the phrase "getting on the devil's ground"?
Sure, yeah.
Okay, for anybody who doesn't know, and in fact, how would you describe getting on the devil's ground? What does that possibly? What does that mean?
Well, my dad would describe it as, for one, if you're not praying and your mind's not in a guarded situation where you're focused on Heavenly Father, that's the beginning of being on the devil's ground. But
Yep,
that could lead you to like getting on the internet, and
there
your
we go.
mind not only is unguarded, but now you're really on the devil's ground. And you
And
could
the
look at,
devil. Did you guys have the phrase of what happens like? And when you're on the devil's ground, the devil will handle you. Have you heard that?
yeah. And so,
Where
what
we're
were you
talking about
talking?
the internet. We're talking the internet and the devil's ground. So
Yeah.
I'm just curious. So was that part of the fear that the going on the internet is getting on the
Yeah.
devil's ground?
Right. So, yeah, I was trying to start my own deal, but I couldn't even figure out how to register my business without somehow using the internet. And I was so worried that there, back in the old days, there was these call logs, like you could call what, 411 or
Mm-hmm.
81, I can't
Yeah,
remember.
yeah. Star
And
69 is one I remember.
yeah, anyway, there's this number you can call and ask them to look things up on the internet for you. And
Okay.
so I use that. And I also tried to get people to like, hey, if I pay you a little bit, will you do some internet searches for me? I was
So
so
that you're
scared.
protecting your soul.
Yes,
Yeah.
I was so scared, and they just thought I was so weird, you know? They're like, dude, no.
Are you
Like,
asking people that you know within the
yeah,
community? Got it.
no, no, nobody
You're
up there.
asking, yeah, you're asking people out in the world to do it.
Yes, I'm just because it's just me and my mom and her kids up there in Fargo. There's
Yep.
not really any other FLDS up there at that point.
Yep. Yep. I'm
And
with you.
so, yeah, I was just asking random people or people at my work or whatever. And yeah, nobody wanted to do it. So I decide I need to get my phone fixed so that it can get on the internet. I take it over to Verizon. I take my iPad and phone over to Verizon and I ask them to fix it and put it on my own plan. And they have to call the people over in Colorado City and get the restrictions taken off. Anyway, I get my own phone plan, uh, and I do one internet search, and like, it's kind of like magic. And I'm kind of like, well, uh, I don't think there was anything wrong with that. I think my dad would be fine with that.
Uh-huh.
I get my business registered, and then I started watching YouTube videos about about how to do different things. And that just I couldn't stop watching YouTube videos, you know. After I
Dude,
got my iPad,
YouTube saved your life.
after
But
I got
go ahead, but I want to pause you on the iPad thing. Because I just have to point out, like, you getting on the internet. I don't know if people realize this was probably the bravest thing you've ever done.
yeah, like it was it was crazy, you know.
That takes
Okay.
when you're a
Okay,
fundamentalist kid,
but
that takes courage.
okay, but here's the thing. I actually got rid of my phone plan like 4 times because I would start using the internet and
Uh-huh.
it's hard to stop.
Yep.
And then the line gets a little bit blurred between this is work and
Hmm.
I need to look at this kind of a thing. And it's easy.
Curiosity.
Yeah, it's really
Ah,
easy. So,
curiosity, baby. Okay, so
so
you got
I
your iPad.
literally get rid of my phone plan like 4 times because I can't keep myself
From
from
YouTube.
what? Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
And
But
at the time, we're not going to get into porn or whatever, but at this, because YouTube doesn't have that. But like, you even just searching something that you're curious about that is YouTube friendly, family friendly, was enough to be like, oh crap, this is not
oh
work.
yeah.
I'm on the devil's ground.
Oh yeah, for sure.
What are
Uh
some of the things that you're watching on YouTube at that point?
anything that teaches you a little bit about the world, really. But anything from like vloggers to political debates,
Ah,
you
okay.
know. And this is like 2017, so I didn't know anything about Donald Trump or anything.
Hmm. Hmm.
And so yeah. Uh
You little
anyway,
heathen. Okay, you delete your
I
phone plan, but you get the tablet or whatever.
yeah. And then I have this cabinet job, but I watch videos from the time I get home. I get home and I eat dinner. I go down to my room. I watch videos till 3 in the morning.
Totally.
And then I do that for like 3 weeks. And all the whole weekend I watch videos.
Did
I
you feel
just
a little
can't.
guilty?
Yeah, I did, but not for like 3 weeks. You know, for like 3 weeks, I just did that. And I was so tired, but I still just, even though I was so tired, I couldn't even stop watching the videos. And
Okay.
so, yeah, then my mom started getting pretty worried that I was watching them. And, you know, because she knew I was in my room just doing nothing. But
You're on the internet, aren't you?
yeah,
You're watching a video about politics or Donald Trump. What, like, aren't you?
yeah, yeah. Anyway, uh, I, like I was saying, I get rid of my phone plan a couple times because I'm so worried. Uh, but then I always get it back because I need it. Anyway, because I don't have access to my brothers or anybody, like I'm kind of on my own. I'm living with my mother, and so I'm not doing I'm making sure that I look good to my mother and my siblings and even to myself, right?
Yep.
I'm worried that I'm doing something wrong, but I'm doing a lot more things that I'm starting to think. So this is where I would just say like the crack happened is the internet. You know, once I did that, then next thing I know, I went over and I buy this bike and I'm riding around on it.
Hold on. We got to time
And
out because there's something that happens here. Like, because it's a psychological thing. Like, that seems like a little jump. That's a fucking massive jump for a fundamentalist kid. So I'm trying to understand where the moment, because when you're living in an environment like this, you're finding a way to make it true. What your dad says, like, uh, you're saying, well, maybe it's a test and something like that, but you're going from I'm on the internet to where I'm play is okay. I'm going to get this. So is the first step where you actually feel like this is probably a sin, but maybe I'm going to repent, from the play, or did you go ahead and think that it was completely okay? Like, where did that bridge happen?
It's like I was so depressed that I figured maybe it wasn't a sin, you know? That's what I figured at the time. I was like, I bet my dad wouldn't care if I bought this bike
It
because
would
of
make
how
me feel a
everything
little.
is. Because of how everything is right now, I am just not. I am not okay, you
How
know?
did you? So when you were in that depression, what was the story you were telling yourself about yourself at that point?
It- oh, I knew I needed to repent and I was trying to be worthy to hear from my dad. Uh, I was spending a little bit less time with my mother and my siblings because I had my iPad and was way deep into it. But yeah, I would
So it was like
repent.
looking for relief.
Yeah, I was looking for relief. And then actually, the reason I bought the bike is
Yeah,
because I said my dad would rather me be on the bike than on the internet. That's
there we
right.
go. There
Yeah,
we go.
that was
I knew there'd
it.
be something.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
because
I
at the
was,
very least, you're with yourself. You're not gonna get information and stuff like that.
yeah, I'm not gonna do something with a girl that's gonna damn me forever.
Yep,
Touch a girl or
yep,
look at a girl wrong or whatever.
yep.
So, yeah.
Okay. The next thing I want to talk about is like when you actually start questioning it. But again, I want to just make one other connection of my upbringing, just so that people are clear between the connection of the work and the FLDS. I had to convince my dad and grandfather to let me go to college. And my dad, or sorry, my grandfather, even though he wasn't the head guy for my family, he essentially was the head guy because the church happened, Colorado City Centennial Park is where it is, but Wayman, my same last name, was connected to Salt Lake City because we had this whole prophecy said that the priesthood will never leave the Salt Lake Valley. And I know your dad had some property up there, and I know some people sort of believe that too, but we never moved down. And so we looked at my grandfather as sort of like this special leader. He also knew your grandfather, Roland Jeffs, and Leroy Johnson. He knew some of the old prophets that both groups have. So we revered him. Anyway, when he told me to go to college, or when he gave me permission to go to college, he gave me some rules to live by. One of them was to never do anything extracurricular. Don't live on campus even. Don't don't do something fun. Definitely don't go don't don't even accept an invitation to lunch with a girl or anything like that. Go to classes, go home. But I'm like 22 at this point where with the story I'm about to say. My professor, Professor Rob Webker, shout out Rob Webker. Um, I was getting a business degree, which is why my dad and grandfather let me go. Is somebody in the community was going to have a business degree, and my entrepreneurial professor Rob Webker did something really interesting. He he talked about, because it was entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship is not very structured. You need to have, it's about free flowing conversation. And so
Hmm.
he would sometimes for class, he's like, you know what? We're not going to have class today in the classroom. We're going to go down to a pizza parlor, Stone Ground Pizza in Salt Lake City. So we're going to go from the University of Utah down to Stone Ground Pizza, and we're just going to have conversation. I remember that terrifying me because my grandfather said, go to classes. As soon as you step out of the classroom, as soon as class is over, go to class, go home. Nothing extracurricular. But now here's a gray area.
Yeah.
My professor would have like half of class and says, okay, for the second half of class, we're going to go down to a pizza parlor. And that was a moral dilemma for me
Hmm.
because of the same things. I didn't know, is that getting on the devil's ground? Is that going against my grandfather? Would my grandfather, or do I call my grandfather and ask him permission? but I also kind of wanted to go. Like, and so I had to have these mental gymnastics. It just reminds me of you getting on the internet and also you getting a bike instead of the internet, of like,
Hmm.
what's less? Long story short, I ultimately did go, but I had to jump through several mental loops to make it okay that because my professor, it seems extracurricular, but my professor sanctioned it. So maybe my soul is still going to be okay. And even if I do go to hell or whatever, I will have when heaven or whoever judges me, God says, or Jesus, whatever, is like, why did you go to the pizza parlor? I can at least say, I thought that that was in the line of my duty because that's what that professor did. And so even though it was pizza, it was essentially the classroom. It was still part of class and stuff like that. But I remember it being a big conversation as a grown man, well, young man, 22 years old or whatever it was. I might have even been 23, where I had to talk myself into letting myself go to a pizza parlor for fear that I may not like it, that it's not risking myself. And around the same time, I also had like girls in class because we did like group stuff saying, hey, do you want to study to do this project together? And I'd be like, is this okay? But anyway, I just really want to share that because I get your feeling, man. Like this whole am I okay if I do this sort of thing. So let's
Yeah.
go to now because you're still in the space of like, okay, it's okay if I do this, but there's still a bridge that you have to cross, my friend, to get to the place where you're open to question it. What caused you to be open to question it?
Yeah. So my dad sent two of his wives up to Fargo, and one of them had children to live with us. And so we moved to a new house. It was a bigger house. And honestly, we're getting a little bit sloppy with the religion.
Okay.
Like, we're doing good words and everything every morning and class at night, and we're doing everything, but everybody's getting a little bit sloppy. Everybody's getting a phone now. I'm not the only one.
No. Okay.
I'm not the only one with
And these
the
phones have
internet
the
now.
internet. Whoa.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Like my sisters, but they're all guarding each other more or less, but not totally. They're
What do
watching a
you
few
mean by
things.
that? What do you mean they're guarding each other?
Well, the house is pretty crowded. So it's not like they're off in their. I had my own bedroom. Well, I guess at this point I didn't because one of the boys moved with me, but he was young, and I would let him watch videos with me sometimes. But the girls would watch a video together, but they didn't like have their own room to go and sit in and surf the internet and, you know, lose their brain for a little while, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, we're in this house. We lived there for like a year, but everybody decided there's 13 of us, and everybody's like, we have to have some land. We grew up on a ranch. We we can't live here anymore. So they find this house. They decide they want to try buying it. They get three people's names. They get it pushed through. I don't know how it went through, but they decide to let us have this house. It has like 10 acres. It's like 20 minutes out. And so we have these two houses, but the one needs fixed up. And it takes like 6 months to close. So in uh so we're living all crammed. 6 months go by. We finally get the house, and then we just need to fix it up. So everybody's so happy. So we go out there, we rip the kitchen out. I know how to build pretty good. So, we rip the guts we got the house. Uh, Everybody's helping make these payments. But then I was doing my construction work, and by this point I was doing a little bit better at getting I was just doing little jobs, like I would build people's decks and fences.
Yep.
That's what I was doing. But I was building somebody's fence and I like cut my hand,
Mm.
and it like cut all five of my fingers,
Mm.
and it was pretty bad. So I went to the hospital. I got like a six
which
hour
did not happen very much.
no, but
Yep,
I got like a 6 hour surgery and got all my tendons tied back together. But I couldn't really do my construction work anymore.
more time for
And
the internet.
yeah, no kidding. Uh, but winter was also coming. So that was in August that I cut my hand. So I really couldn't do my construction work for like a few months while my hand, like it was pretty bad cut. Um, but then one day my dad tells everybody to move away and that only my mother and my oldest full sister and me were staying. So it
At
was
this
just
new
us.
place. At this new place.
Well, we still had both places.
Got it. Okay.
We had nobody had moved into the new house because we were still fixing it.
Well,
And everybody, like, I didn't have a ton of money, especially because I'd cut my hand. So yeah, everybody just moved out. And in this process, like my mother's sister they were kind of at odds. And she kind of took my two youngest siblings and wouldn't even let them say bye and stuff. Like it was one of those things, dad says move out, you move out right then. But yeah, she wouldn't even let my youngest siblings say bye to my mom and stuff. And I I knew 100% that that wasn't because of anything dad said.
okay.
They had been at odds for probably a month or two. Not
Okay.
totally, but they weren't getting along in the
Mm-hmm.
house. And so she was using it. Yeah, dad had said they should move away, but she was really, really using it for like revenge,
Uh-huh.
essentially.
Uh-huh. So what does
And
that mean for you? Like why is that significant?
oh, it just made me mad because because I knew that, it wasn't anything my dad had told her to do. Yeah, it just made me super mad that my youngest siblings were basically being told how horrible we were. And yeah, so they moved.
Okay.
Anyway, everybody moves away, but they also, like, now it's just me, my mom, and my sister left to make both house payments. So I call, but we can't do it, you know. Um, for one, I cut my hand like 2 months earlier, and
You're not able to work as much as you could.
yeah, I haven't been able to work, and now winter's coming, and my mom and sister just can't do that much. So I'm helping where I can, but I don't have a lot I can do. So I called my uncle and told him, or no, it wasn't my uncle, but a friend that I knew was in the FLDS. He had been out working for a while. He was just by himself. I called him and I said, "Look, man, I'm in a bad situation. Uh, we have two houses and we have to get rid of one of them. But in the meantime, I'm trying to hurry fix up some rooms in this house so we can move in there and get rid of this other house. And I think I can do it like within a month, but I need you to help me with 1 month's rent on this house." And he said, "No problem. Send me your bank account info. I'll deposit the money in there and
Okay.
I'll send you up some supplies to help you with the house."
Okay.
But then my brothers, I guess, somehow found out that we were talking, and they called him and told him like dad said all these bad things about him and he's basically becoming an apostate, so
That
from
he is or you are.
that I am. They called
Okay.
him the
To say that
person that,
you're becoming an apostate.
right.
Okay.
And so like he wouldn't talk to me anymore. And I called a few other people and they wouldn't help. So yeah, we just racked up our credit cards and moved out to that house. But at this point, I'm pretty mad because I also knew that like they called him because they knew he was going to help me. They didn't
Yep.
call him for any other reason. They just
Yep.
knew he was going to help me.
He must have felt targeted.
Oh, yeah. Um, so yeah, I was
That's
pretty
such an
upset.
interesting moment. I'm so curious about this moment because so much of your life you're trying to be worthy. You're trying to be good. And at the same time, you're doing some stuff that it's in the gray, like internet, bike. But then you have people in the family saying things about you. And so you must be like that must drive you crazy because you're like, no, I'm not the devil, like I sort of am being portrayed as, right? Like is that what it felt like? I'm just so curious what it was like to be you in that moment where people like, especially when you were in a stressful situation, you were going to get help, and then it's like the rug is ripped out from under you.
Well, I had never seen human nature so clearly before in the sense that every one of those people, they wanted they they were hurting us and making everything not work out for us and getting revenge on us and like that, getting revenge on mother, not because of anything religious. In fact, it's the opposite of religion, right? It's the opposite of their own religion. But because dad said bad things about us, they're using it in every possible way they can to justify hurting us in every way they can, you
Totally.
know? And I just never seen human nature on such full display before.
Mm.
I mean, I had, but I hadn't realized it. And so, yeah, I was, that's probably the moment that I was
Mm.
like, okay,
Is this the
like I
crack?
was mad. Oh, for sure. For
Okay.
sure. This is the, this is what like made me reconsider. I was,
It was just so painful.
yeah, this whole situation is a little more complicated than I can explain,
Yeah.
but yeah, it was enough to get me pretty upset. And
So fascinating.
and after using the internet, it had been 2 years now since I started using the internet, right? So yeah, I'm like been using the internet for 2 years, and then this stuff happens. Yeah, I think at that time, as soon as I was able to get rid of that other house and we moved out to the other one, then I watched every single thing about the FLDS online.
Whoa.
Like everything.
Okay. Dude, we might have to do a part two. I'm looking at the time
Yeah.
just on getting right to this point. Are you down to do a part two?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see if we can start coming for a landing. One thing I'm just so curious about is during this time period where you're noticing, as you call it, human nature on full display, are you blaming yourself for any of it? Like, are you wondering, like, did you do wrong, or did you already get past the point of like it's not a bad thing to be on the internet, it's not a bad thing to do this, or is there any point like maybe this is a test too?
Oh, I believed it was a test,
Okay.
but I wasn't ready to leave. But oh God, I was so yeah. I was super mad at like half the time, and the other half I was like super repentant and forgiving everyone.
So what we know about anger now is that it's a secondary emotion, right? That there's got to be some sadness. Usually it's sadness that's underneath it. What
Hmm.
is the sadness for yourself? Is it for the breakup? Is it for the lack of community and cohesion? Like where do you think the sadness is that's sparking the anger?
I think one of the things that made me the maddest was watching uh basically watching dad's other wife kind of uh use dad to basically get back at my mom
Yeah,
because my
totally.
mom, yeah, that made me super mad.
Totally.
But um well, because she basically took mother's youngest children and like wouldn't let them talk and was saying
Whoa.
saying all these bad things about us. And I was watching it and I was just, yeah.
And then you
So
let the floodgates open and searched everything.
yeah,
Okay.
it took about a month. It was about a month of me just kind of dealing with the situation.
Mhm.
And then we kind of got settled into that other house
Mhm.
and I got Wi-Fi out there
Okay.
and I got the two rooms and two bathrooms fixed up. I was totally broke. All my credit cards were full. I didn't care. I watched all the internet videos I could.
On
And
FLDS.
yeah,
How old were you at the time?
so I would have been 22,
Okay. How old are you now?
27.
Okay. All right. Um, I want to pick that up for episode 2. We're gonna do a second episode where we'll recap like this crack moment and like
Yeah,
what it was like for you to discover some of these things. Dude, we just I mean it's almost we're approaching 2 hours right now,
yeah,
but I know which is not short, but I know that it is covering so much ground. And there is such a roller coaster of this entire story that is your story. Like the whole thing of like believing it to fearing for your own salvation to the feeling of what's going to happen if your mom gets her name called. You like it happens, like the going back and forth. Uh, like we've shared some of it, but I still feel this is so deep and so rich. I don't know if I mean I have some sense of it because I went through it in
hmm
a different way. But even I can't fully comprehend what like it's just so wild. I don't know if anybody can fully grasp how wild this is. I think they
yeah.
might have some idea. Yeah,
Yeah,
what's
I've
that
been
been
think,
like for you trying to explain to everyone?
I've been thinking about trying to make like maybe like a short kind of film type thing. Uh, because I don't like to try to explain it. I
I
think
know
a movie could probably explain it.
because it can get the depth and the layers better.
Yeah,
Is that what you mean, or is it just annoying? Like why don't you like trying
right.
to explain it?
Because, well, I'm just saying I can explain it, but I don't think people can grasp like
Totally.
how it was. And that's why I
Well,
say like it even all the shows about the FLDS and stuff, I'm like, they're
it's
just not
it's they're
accurate.
not they're not accurate.
They're
They're
near
barely scratching the surface, and it's
they're
because it's
not
outside in. They're not. Yeah,
they're not near the emotional depth that they could be.
you're so right,
So
bro. We might have to collaborate because you're speaking my language now. Um, okay, I was gonna wrap up. I had promised in the middle of the episode the one thing that's the only thing that I know at this point of how you can protect yourself from cultiness because again, the other thing that is so hard to that's been hard for me to describe that you're talking about too is this of how deep it is. Your entire worldview. You may as well try to explain to somebody that the sun isn't real or that the sun is doing something else. Like you make sense of it. You said this is the truth, and you're very much distrusting yourself. And it's just a 3 word phrase that it's the only thing I know how to break out and it starts very small and it starts with just saying it to yourself, but it's state the obvious. It's starting to acknowledge these micro inconsistencies, and the beginning of acknowledging it might be fucking terrifying. And it started with you saying, wait a minute, even if it's just to yourself, this person's dead according to my dad.
Hmm.
I just saw him. I just saw the person that dad said is dead. And you came up with a story still, like maybe the person came back alive and stuff like that. But I think that's where it starts. I would love to hear your thoughts on it, but I think that's where it starts is just noticing and stating, even if it's just yourself, stating the obvious. You don't need to, everything is gonna uncrumble. We'll talk about it, how like the whole story after. But my like having gone through it, I think that's the beginning point. You just have to start like from your own lived experience. This is what I heard. Like you're noticing the conflicts, you're noticing the inconsistencies. You may not even feel like it's safe enough to say out loud, but you're just leaning in a little bit to state the obvious, notice the obvious. What's your take on that?
My take is when you are in those circumstances, for me, I can be so grateful for the amount of obvious things that were contradictory because I've seen people make those things make sense to the point where there's nothing you can do. There's so many obvious things that are contradictory that they're basically lost, because they
Sad.
so I would just say to people that are in that situation, be grateful for those contradictory things and take advantage of them
That's so
because
right.
because if you don't, you will get to the point where it's too far.
Yeah, just like this girl I'm just talked to in the crick a month ago that's like 31 and like totally still believes in your
Hmm.
dad and stuff like that. And
Yeah,
the other
and
thing, yeah, go ahead.
I have several brothers that basically they know pretty much everything I know. They've seen pretty much everything and they've made everything make sense and they're still there.
Yep,
And that concerns me almost more because it's like, well, what is it going to take?
yep, yep. Have you noticed any cultiness in the outside world yet?
Oh, 100%. I see
Dude,
it
we're gonna have to
everywhere.
talk on that. No,
I
I can't
see it
not.
everywhere.
Dude, we got to be friends because I see it everywhere, and it's very hard for me. I sometimes feel like I can't connect with people because
Oh, yeah.
because I see cultiness everywhere in politics, in other religions, and I'm like, Jaden, this is dope. Amanda Ray is right. Shout out to Amanda Ray who connected
Yeah.
us.
Yeah. Yeah.
Got to give
She's
her
great.
the, she's so great. We're going to be doing another episode coming up. We
Awesome.
will do a part 2 on your way out. Everybody, follow this guy. Jaden has a YouTube show. It's under Jaden Jeffs, right? Um,
Yep.
and am I understanding that you are writing as well through Substack?
Yeah.
I just got into Substack and I was recommended to follow you, so that's dope. So check out everything Jaden Jeffs. We're gonna do more stuff. There's an episode on his channel, assuming this comes out, but at some point we're gonna do an episode together on his channel where he interviews me. So that's gonna be dope as well. And we'll do a part 2 of the transition out and what it's like to go from that crack moment to actually getting into the real world. Guys, be grateful for your contradictions. Be grateful for your Wi-Fi. Be grateful for your internet. Be grateful that you can wear short sleeves. Look at us heathens. We're wearing short
Yes.
sleeves. We took the long underwear. Like that's the other thing too is I think I think there is something special that you and I get to have now, and that is like how exciting everyday life is. Like
Yeah.
like there's so many things that we take for granted. Like for me, it's the thing that I think I get most excited about is getting on an airplane because
Uh-huh.
people take it so for granted that it feels boring. I'm like, but this is insane. We can go wherever we want. Like humans are wild. So
Yeah, and for me, pretty much everything people want to tell me about, I haven't heard about. They say, "You seen this movie?" I said, "No, I
yeah,
haven't seen that."
yeah. That's why I started Cultured Boy because Cultured Boy is like my way of like, yes, honoring the past, but everything's new. I want to become cultured. I want to understand it. I'm so curious about life and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, a lot of people don't have this zest. I've noticed that you and I get to have for having grown up so completely sheltered. So,
Yeah.
um, Yeah. So for anybody listening, be grateful for what you've got. And the other thing that Jaden had in this episode that is so obvious is curiosity, like, and courage, like just a little bit of like, I think I can do this. I'm going to try this. So keep that. Stay hungry and stay curious, as I like to say. Okay, Jaden, thank you so much for being here. And we'll see you for round 2 later.
Sounds good. Thanks,
All right.
everybody.
Peace. Oh, by the way, what's your favorite part of this episode? Comment below. What do you want? What do you just want to learn more of? Because whatever questions you have, that can be in part 2 of the episode. Peace.